Привет из Дубая. С вами передача «ГолубьМира», где разбираем крутые навыки. Спрашиваем на английском, отвечаем на русском. Подтягивайте язык или смотрите перевод в тайм-кодах. Let's talk about patchwork and let's start with the definition.
It was a time when people has not enough materials to make, for example, одеяло,
Blanket,
blankets, or some ковры,
carpets.
or some carpets, and they were using different kind of materials and then put it together. And it was not so looking good because it was just several big part of materials which was connected by the stripe. But then they realized that it is much easier to make like a mosaic from a patch. So they will use like cutting this huge part of materials for 20, for 50 pieces, and they will combine. And in this case, you will get something looking very nice, funny, and even easier to look. Do you remember it was a time when we have no internet at all, and we were sleeping in our rooms, and the only one entertainment was to look on the carpet on the wall and to look for the pictures on it.
Yeah, I remember exactly those times. And actually, it was very interesting because each time you would create the stories and look at those beers or like any like a West European stories that they were shown there. So actually, when it comes to this skill, I do believe I probably may know the answer because like you will never know what you will need. But I see that we also have like a couple of skills that are related to craftsmanship. So maybe like we could explain a bit more like why you may want to be aware or like be skillful in this discipline so that you could use it or maybe like apply somehow in the future.
Maxim, to be honest, I am very shy because I am from poor family. I don't know how to say, maybe I will pronounce wrong, please correct me. My grandma and my grandma from the mother side are orphans.
That's
Сироты,
correct.
orphans. So we were living in a very small flat and we have no money at all. So we were eating all the bread or everything we have in our small fridge, and the same was in the closets. And my grandma were using a very strange techniques. Sometimes he were taking shirts from my grandpa. She will cut this color, turn it down, and then sew it again. And sometimes she were taking socks with holes and using the spoon and with special, I don't know how to say, вот нитка для вязания.
Threat.
With special threads, they were making some узор.
Ornaments.
And it was funny. Sometimes I was told by other people how funny your socks are looking, but I knew that there was some holes. But yes, after my grandma was doing these ornaments, it was like a flowers or something else. And these socks were quite unusual. They were looking even in quotes better than a standard one. And when I was grown up and I was in the summer with my grandma, she told me, okay, let's cook together. And I was studying how to cook. Let's make a patchwork from the socks. And I was learning. And sometimes she asked me, maybe you want to make a dress to your small sister. And I told, definitely I want. And we were taking a huge dress from my mother or from my grandmother. We will cut this, I don't know how to say, material with scissors, and then we will use, for example, as a patch, pockets.
And it's quite interesting because I do remember in my childhood, usually like when we have some like a hole or whatever in the items, we would never like throw it away and actually use it for like whatever future cases we may have, even if it's not a clothes, but let's say something that you would use like as a farmer, like in your day-to-day routine. For example, you may want to patch the sacks or anything like everything could be used. And when it comes to the patchwork, obviously it also could be a craftsmanship when it, like when it comes to decoration or like anything like this. So when it comes to the application of it, like what kind of, I would say, like inspiration you should get, or what kind of the use case you may find in the common life. I mean, like starting from the, like patching your socks, where you would apply it, or maybe you could use it for demonstrating something to someone so that they actually, would learn from it and maybe use in their lives too.
You know, it was time when not many things were sold in the shops, and my grandpa find, I don't know how to say title, plitka, titles,
Tile.
tile, which were several colors. It was from plastic and very small one. Maybe you remember this, like 10 centimeters for 10 centimeters, and they were like red, like yellow, and maybe white one. And he uses a lot of time, maybe several weeks, to put all together in the corridor, in the bathroom, or on the kitchen. And then my grandma became very sad, and she told to everyone that our carpets on the floor doesn't suit to these colors. And we were wondering, who cares? This is our entire flat, so no one comes to us. We have no guests. But suddenly, at one early morning, our grandma was cutting all these carpets with stripes. I don't know exactly, but maybe the same 10 centimeters width, and everything was cutted. 3 carpets were completely cutted, and suddenly this grandma trying to combine all these carpets and mix all of these colors. And when she was doing it, it was very strange. Why to cut this whole carpets? But when she finished, we really understand that in this condition, in this mixture, in this kind of patchwork, it's looking much better. Yet it was maybe too stripy, like a tiger one, but it was looking much better than whole carpets were laying on different part of the flat, and no one will completely suit to the walls.
And when it actually comes to the technique, I do realize that, like when you're trying to apply the patch to something, if you don't do it correctly and you try to tighten the knots, apparently everything could be looking like very, I don't know, like not so
Ugly.
nicely, ugly, and probably you also need to learn how to do the knots. And when I was doing the leather crafting, I learned that there are different types of how you exactly can put a thread. Like for example, one called the saddle one, which actually allows you to create, like I would say, maybe if we speak about some IT terminology, like individual nodes, so that like if anything is like if any of the threads getting like a ripped off, the construction still will be whole. So when it comes to the techniques of the patchworking, like what kind of little tricks or like a life hacks or like any small details we should be aware of so that we could make it efficient yet nice?
Thank you for asking. There is at least 2 levels of the patchwork. First, you will make something which would be looking good just from one side. When I was trying to make something with, for example, like a small dress for my younger sister, it was looking slightly okay, but from main side. But from other side, it was terrible. All my shoes, швы, швы,
Use
shoes were terrible. They were too fat and maybe not so прямой, direct,
straight.
straight. But after some help and hints with my grandma, I start to understand that second level is to make something which was looking good from both sides. You know, it's very funny, but even when I was working with Lagerfeld, do you know this is a fashion designer, I asked him if we could make something like a patchwork, but in modern style. And I told him that when I was doing dresses for my young sister, my grandma were always asking me, please do it, that this girl could wear it on different size. I know, то есть его можно вывернуть, to make it turn up,
Upside down or like a
to make it upside down.
And it's actually I do believe there's another aspect to this, like when it comes to the practicality, because like something that I realized even with my colleagues when I was working in Singapore, when something is getting like a ripped off, or like the button on the shirt would be like falling apart, they don't have like enough knowledge, which is like a very simple, how to do the notes, how to actually put it back, or maybe temporary put those pieces together. So what might be another cases where you may want to apply like the skill of the patchwork into even the modern world, where you can be, I would say, like autonomous, and you just like can use the I would say stick and rope to just carry on.
You know, the most easiest way to use patchwork in modern world is to go to embroidery shop. There are a lot of people who has special kind of machines, and they could make very fancy stripes. For example, you have a hole in your jeans or in your skin, кожаная куртка, skin jacket. Is it okay to
Leather
say?
jacket.
Laser jacket. So if you have this, it's very strange to go with the hole. But you could come to embroidery and will say, okay, can we put cherry or apple or something like a jackfruit on top of this? And you know, everyone will think that, okay, it's quite funny. You have a strawberry in the middle of your bag of leather jacket.
And my last question will be how knowing about patchwork could help to make this world a better place.
When we live in modern cities, when you have enough money, there is no need to know how this patchwork work. But for example, it was a time when my young sister got a doll from Germany, and this was a very nice looking doll, not a Barbie one, more simple one, but suddenly someone on the street rip out something from the skirt of this doll, and my young sister were crying a lot, and I was asking her, is it okay if we will make like a patchwork? And we make something very strange. We take part of, I don't know how to say, portiere, шторы,
Yeah, probably portieres,
part of portieres,
blinds,
and or curtains maybe,
curtains.
and we cut it small piece and we make skirt. Okay, it was a lot of shout from our mother, but anyway, it was like repairing. So if you have, for example, tent, if you have something on your sportwear, it also could be done with a patchwork.
А мы рассмотрели навык лоскутное шитье и чем он полезен именно вам. Всем мира!